Hello sci-fi fans of the world, let's talk about the Cloverfield Paradox. Be warned, I'm going to go into some major spoilers about this movie that just came out on Netflix.
I'm in love with a hero. I'm in love with the one who will always...
I had no idea that this movie was even being made. I haven't really been following the Cloverfield movies. So I saw about 100 different posts on my Facebook feed saying that it just came out right after the Super Bowl. So you know what? I went ahead and checked it out. Just because I watched the first two movies and I somewhat enjoyed them. They're not the greatest movies in the world, but they do have a lot of entertainment value to them. This movie does somewhat kind of connect to the other two movies in some way, even though in the past it was explained that these movies are all supposed to be different stories, kind of like the Twilight Zone, where each of them just have like a different premise to them. This starts out in the not too distant future where it seems as though the Earth has used up most of its energy sources, and many different countries are on the verge of war. Luckily though, several different space programs in some of these countries band together, and they create a space station that's pretty darn advanced, and it has something called a Shepard particle accelerator. I don't really understand the science behind all of that stuff, but it shoots a beam out that apparently breaks through time and reality. But whatever the case may be, this ray is failing, and the space crew has been aboard the space station for approximately about 2 years. But finally, they are successful, or at least they seemingly are successful. Turns out they're able to power the Shepard device thing. Unfortunately, though, there's an error, and they end up being in an alternate reality on the other side of the sun. This is the weird part where I don't really understand everything completely. There's another crew member that mysteriously appears aboard their ship named Mina. She's literally infused in the actual ship itself. Like there's wires and things like that going through her body. Another member of the crew, Volkov, his eye starts to go off in a different direction and it talks to him. Or it has like an inner voice inside of his head that starts talking to him to try to explain some future things he needs to do. There's some fusing of the realities together, which can explain why some of the strange stuff is happening. The character of Mundy, played by Chris O'Dowd, who I love him as an actor, he was part of the IT Crowd, which is also on Netflix. But like his arm is taken into the ship itself. It's like the ship sucks it in. And later it reappears again and it has a mind of its own and it's trying to help them by giving them instructions. Again, I'm not really sure what that means and why it's happening. I'm just kind of chalking up to the whole Cloverfield thing where you can't really explain everything. You really have to let your mind go on this because you can't think too much about it. If you do, you're going to get really frustrated. Although I've already read some people's thesis basically explaining how this movie is connecting to the other two movies. Slowly, one by one, all the crew members are killed off, but it's not like in a horror kind of way. Most of them are killed off in accidents, with the exception of Monk, who's killed off by Mina, who she does this to try to save her own Earth because her Earth is already at war. In the end, there's only two characters who are still alive, which happens to be Ava and Schmidt, where she has her own storyline going on to the side, where she accidentally killed her two kids by trying to steal an energy source that caused an explosion and they died in a fire. So she has a whole lot of emotional issues going on, and she has the choice of going to Earth 2 or returning back to her Earth, which she does choose to go back home with Schmidt, and of course with the Shepard power accelerator thing, and it works, so it looks as though Earth could be saved. Unfortunately though, because they did this whole accelerator particle thing that went into space and reality and time and everything, it opened up a portal for monsters to be on Earth. The closing shot to this movie showed the monster from Cloverfield, or at least something that looked very similar to it. I can't really tell if it's the same monster. It seemed much bigger because it was going up into the clouds, but I'm not really quite sure. Maybe the monster in the first movie could grow into this size, or maybe this is another Earth and it just opened up a portal for all of these monsters to go into all these other Earths out there. So many possibilities of what this could really mean. From the little bit I've read online, this movie could be Earth Prime, and it could be affecting all of the realities in the alternate Earths, which all of the movies may be based on. Meaning that the original theory of the movies all being independent could still be true because this is the Earth that opened up the portal to all of the other Earths, so that now that these other Earths may have monsters and aliens being invading them and stuff. Again, I'm not really quite sure, but that's just my take on it. So I really do feel as though this does somewhat connect the movies together a little bit, but not exactly. From what I hear, there's already a fourth movie that's been filmed that's supposed to come out in October 2018, and this is supposed to be set in World War II. That one's called Overlord, and because it's set in World War II, this could also be affected from the whole timeline and everything like that that happened in this movie. But again, I'm really not quite sure. This movie was entertaining. It's not the greatest movies out there. It did make me think about the other movies, and it did also make me want to do a lot of research into it, so much so that I'm right now doing this review on it. So I won't say it's horrible, and if you have Netflix, you can easily watch it. So I say if you got time, give it a shot. If you're not really interested into the whole sci-fi aspect and the past Cloverfield movies, this may not be your thing, but I I did enjoy. I'd probably give it like a 3 or maybe 2.9 stars out of possible 5 stars. I will say it's not exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting them to open up some sort of portal and just have monsters come through it, but this was a bit different. So for that, I will give them kudos for surprising me. That's it. I think I kind of rambled on enough about this. What did you think? Did you watch this movie? If you did, leave comments down below and let me know what you thought about it. But let me end it at that point. Check out my Patreon site when you get a chance, patreon.com/gaycomicgeek. Check out my social media sites, my websites, and everything else out there. Peace, love, namaste, and I'll see you guys later.
He's a prominent figure.
At the end of this movie, because of all the alternate reality things going on, I was almost expecting Ava's character to end up on a third Earth, being like it's another Earth that's even worse than the one she was just at. That would have been an interesting twist.